Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of my live tea tasting. I've got an exciting blend for you guys today, and I am thrilled to bring it to you. For the first time in quite some time, I'm starting a new tea from a new vendor that I've never tried before, and today's blend is called Happy Oolong from Miss Tea. And this is a vendor that I bumped into while I was in New York during the Thanksgiving break. And I found this blend to be, hey Sneha, welcome. I found this blend to be very unique, and I'll go into why in just a moment. But we went to the Bryant Park Christmas. I keep forgetting the name of it, but it's basically a lot of vendors. Yeah, it's Miss Tea. I already mentioned that. Excuse me. So, I think I lost my train of thought. Somebody just requested to join the community, which great timing and all. But can you accept that member, please? So anyway, okay. As I was saying, this is a new blend from a new vendor, and it's what's this? You'll take care of it. Thanks so much. I appreciate that. And I'm losing my train of thought again. So, okay, new blend, new vendor, and we struck up a conversation because of this specific blend. I was asking for something unique, and when she said Happy Valley Oolong, I was like, okay, well, it doesn't sound like that's unique until she said what's unique about it. This is an oolong that comes out of Darjeeling. And right there, I was caught by surprise because Darjeeling is not known for oolongs. They're all black teas. However, Darjeeling is also the only place in India that grows Camellia sinensis. So it's interesting. Usually they make very, very light, kind of nutty, honey, sweet black teas. But India as a whole does not make oolongs. So it definitely caught my attention, and I just jumped at the chance to try it out. So that being said, I wanted to introduce a little bit about the tea, a little bit about the history, about what makes it unique, and now that I've done so, well, let's go into it. So I want to first point out the kind of blend that it is. Now, you know I talk a lot about different oolongs, usually between Chinese oolong and Taiwanese oolong. This one being a Indian oolong. Is this blended? No, this is a single source oolong. All comes from one general area, and I'm hoping that the vendor comes in. I'd like to introduce her, hopefully soon, so she can talk a little bit about, excuse me, talk a little bit about the blend, and where it comes from, what makes it unique. But I'm just going to keep on going with it. So let's talk about the look of this. Now, this looks more on the side of a Chinese oolong, where it's dark, and it's leafy, and sticky, but now I mean sticky as in like in the shape of a stick, rather than the texture being sticky. You know what I mean? So let's take a look at some of these colors. I want to point out this is for an oolong. It's pretty colorful. Now it doesn't quite show on the camera, but there's a lot of like lighter kinds of colors in here. Let me pull out one specific leaf where you can see it's very, very green as compared to the darker ones. Then a lot of these also have golden tips, which is said to give it a sweeter, lighter flavor. But being what it is, I'm dying to just jump right in and try some. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's take a look first at the color. Now this is a very beautiful color. Look at how bronze and beautiful it is. It's very dark for, in comparison to other oolongs, Taiwanese oolongs to be specific. But if you look through it, I gotta move out the way because I'm kind of in the light. It's not a very clear looking because it's like super dark. That's going to indicate a rich flavor altogether. And the smell, the scent is just really enticing. Like it's got that a scent that's leaning towards a black tea, but it doesn't quite hit the same notes. It almost looks like a black tea. Oh yeah, absolutely. And coming out of India, that's did I oversteep it? No. And I'll talk about the steeping process that I did as well in just a moment. But it's not surprising coming out of India is going to have the darker flavors because they're known for black teas. I did not expect it to be a Taiwanese type of oolong because just the general culture would go pretty much like I would be thoroughly surprised, honestly, if we had like the balled up oolongs that come out of Taiwan coming out of Darjeeling, and like climate has a lot to do with it. Where it's a cooler and a higher up elevation in Darjeeling, so that's what's able to sustain the sinensis. However, the culture behind it. Hey, Pops, welcome. The culture behind the tea making processes, as well as the general limits within the environment and the atmosphere, you're not going to get the same kind of product if you do it the same way that they do in Taiwan. So that's why I was kind of expecting this kind of tea, the darker, more earthy side, because it's there's just so many factors that happen in Darjeeling that would encourage a more Chinese kind of oolong versus Taiwanese. So that being said, I'm going to go ahead and take my first slurp. I love this. There's like little notes of chocolate in this. It's like chocolate and nut a little bit. I'm really digging it so far. I haven't even taken my first sip. So here we go. Oh, that is nice. I was not expecting that. There's a bit of a strong kind of berry flavor in there. Like a cherry or like a something that's kind of tart but not sour. And there's a certain kind of sweetness to it as well. Like I mentioned before, it had you get a nutty kind of flavor when you drink a Darjeeling, but it still has a good amount of honey and nut flavor in it as well. But there's like a little bit of tart behind it. What's the name of the tea again? It's Happy Valley Oolong. And also talking about what differentiates the oolong from a black tea is the amount of oxidation it goes through. Where usually you'll get between 30. Why is it called Happy Valley? That I would ask the vendor. I mean, it's there's one of two reasons. One, the name of the farm that it comes from is Happy Valley, or two, it just sounds nice. I mean, like, I can't really answer for that. Because it is what it is. It's a difficult question because I just don't know. Ooh, that's delicious. And there's a kind of like sweet. Was it okay, Miss T? Would you know why the tea is called Happy Valley? I don't know if you're asking her, because as far as I know, she's not here. I have 4 viewers, so hey, Alicia, welcome. You're live on a different time tonight. Normally you're around 7, and it's 9 for me. That's probably because of what is it? I mean, I'm on at the same time as always. But I don't know. There might be an issue with daylight savings. Maybe, I don't know. But I'm glad you could join me because this is like a very special blend. As I don't know when you tuned in, but as I was saying, this is a Darjeeling from India, Darjeeling, an Oolong from Darjeeling, which is not normally produced in India, and it's very, very nice. It's very sweet and smooth. And there's like a very soft texture to it. It's kind of silky, but it doesn't hang on the tongue with any weight. It's very drinkable. I'm really enjoying it. It's a very sensual tea that it warms up the entire mouth. And as I speak, it comes out kind of like a cooling effect, which is not just. Would I say this is a morning tea? I mean, you can generally you can drink any kind of tea during any kind of day, depending on your sensitivity to caffeine, of course. But it does have that kind of traditional taste to it that you would associate with, like, say, an English breakfast or a Scottish breakfast. Anything that's like the dark, earthy kind of flavor. This one's a very light version. So I would say it's comparable to, I mean, it's morning or afternoon, even in evening tea, like if you're not that sensitive to caffeine. But it is comparable to a breakfast tea. If that's the answer you're looking for. And I love, like, there's a certain kind of sensation that I'm getting on the surface of my tongue, like the tart kind of berry. Would I blend this with Ceylon? I mean, you could. It would be a little bit difficult to steep, because it's like, I mean, this is a very general area. You can understeep the Oolong or risk understeeping the Ceylon, but oversteeping the Oolong in this case. So you'd have to find that delicate balance, but I think you could definitely do it. Usually whenever you go live around 7 your time and 7 my time. Did you move and change the time zones on me? Nope. This is the same same time as always. I'm thinking it's a daylight savings thing. I mean, then again, I don't know when the last time you joined it, because I haven't seen you in a while. So, hey Carla, welcome. You have excuse me. I'm glad you could make it, everybody. Carla, this is the vendor that I was speaking about. We're tasting the Happy Valley Oolong, and we already had one question for you. So Sneha, if you don't mind repeating that question, I had to make up an answer on your behalf, because I just don't know. But as I mentioned, like, there's only really 2 reasons. Either that's where it came from, or it just sounded nice. Oh, no, don't worry about it. I'm just glad you made it. So go ahead and re-ask your question. You can even copy and paste it. But anyway, there we go. Why is the tea called Happy Valley Oolong? That's question number 1. We're opening up the floor to questions kind of early in this stream, which I'm all for, because more interaction the better. And while you take that time to answer the question, I'm going to have another sip. Number one reason. That's what I said. I was like, it's probably one of two things. It's either the name of the garden, or it just sounds nice. Well, I mean, both are true. I mean, they called it Happy Valley because it sounds nice as well. Oh, it's the second oldest. That is awesome. Now, is it the second oldest in all of India or specifically Darjeeling? And Alicia says the view behind me caught your eye. Oh yeah, the cityscape. I love living this close, this high up. It's great. So I really would love to know, because like it's just very interesting. What flush is this tea? Yeah, that's another good question. You're like having all of the good questions, and I just have like, where did this tea come from? No, by all means, like, Happy Valley Oolong is a luxury oolong black tea with notes of Darjeeling and muscatel. Second flush, nice. Now, excuse me. They say that first flush in Darjeeling is better, but second in Assam is their best. So, in this case, being a second flush tea, having it as oxidizing it as an oolong rather than a black tea, that must have an interesting effect on the flavor. Now, I'm drinking this so I know firsthand what it tastes like, but for our viewers at home, it's like, this is not your typical oolong. As I mentioned before, it's got a lot of Indian influence, so you're not going to get the kind of, what was it, Mike? I'm curious, how do Indians make their oolong? Do they roll it? No. Indians don't generally make oolong. This is just what I was saying. Like, it's when I heard that this oolong was coming from Darjeeling, it kind of threw me for a loop, because it's very rare that they do it. They don't roll it. They process it like they would a regular black tea. I mean, from what I could tell, they just hang back on the oxidation process, not going up to 8. What was it? Oolongs usually go between 30 and 80, I want to say, percent. I was never good at math, so I know that oolong has a really good percentage rate. So I've always flubbed up the numbers a little bit. Unless you mean, I know what you mean now. Because if you were to say how do they make their oolong, I would say with water. So Lisa says, I figured I'd pop in, say hello for a quick sec, enjoy your sweet tea. Good night. Have a good night, Alicia. Oxidation is a process through which the tea leaves are exposed to air in order to dry and darken, contributing to the taste and aroma and strength. Absolutely. Excuse me. Still fighting that cough. And it's the amount of oxidation that goes into the leaf that creates the kind of tea that we're drinking at the moment. Now, if I'm not mistaken, the black teas are oxidized between, if I remember correctly, 80 and 95%. Is this CTC? No, this is not CTC. You can tell by the shape. Let me pull out a good one. There we go. Ooh, I like this color too. See, I don't know if you could tell quite by it. If I put it in front of my face, it shows better. But this is a two-tone leaf. This is not CTC. CTC stands for cut, tear, curl. And you usually get small pellets out of that. But no, in this case, it's more traditional, orthodox. Ooh, excuse me. So, if anybody has any more questions, we can refer to Carla. I had a question, but we already talked about where it came from. Um, so, I mean, now that you're here, let's talk a little bit about your tea experience, Carla. If you can share with the viewers, what sparked your interest in tea and tea production? Because it's great for after a meal. You love it. Oh yeah, I can see why. Because it's got that nice hearty flavor to it, um, and it's very what's the word I'm looking for? It's rich. You love it before bed too. Oh, absolutely. I can see how this goes. How would I describe the tea? Would it be close to a Chinese oolong? I mean, it's closer to Chinese and Taiwanese. Absolutely. Yeah. And I was mentioning before how it's got that general flavor that you would get out of a nice Darjeeling, but it also has something extra. Like I mentioned, it has like that honey nut kind of general flavor, but there's a certain kind of tanginess that I'm usually associate with like a soft cherry or an apple behind it. It's really really nice. Like you don't usually get that kind of a flavor out of an oolong, even out of China. Chinese oolongs tend to be on the earthier, smokier side. Not as sweet. This is pretty sweet for what it is. And I'm loving the way that, um, it just kind of rests in your mouth in a certain kind of warmth. I meant to talk about how I steep this. I wanted to be very careful because I didn't. Oh yeah, I'm gonna do the Thomas taste. Don't worry. But I don't have a kettle. I have an electric kettle. You can kind of sort of adjust the temperature, but it's not exact. So I wanted to follow the directions as close as I could, and the directions say to do 190 degrees for 3 to 5 minutes. And I wanted to do it. I wanted to do it right, considering I haven't had any experience with this particular blend. So I got it to about 200, and I steeped it for about 4 minutes. So I think I did pretty well for my first time. Muscatel is a distinctive flavor found in some Darjeeling teas. That's probably what it is. Like it's very hard to describe what Muscatel is if you haven't had it. And I try to give it a more relative flavor. And I try I am the first one to acknowledge that it's not exactly an apple or a cherry flavor, but it comes close. Like it comes to that kind of sweet tartness that the quality of leaf is very important. Oh, absolutely, I couldn't agree more because the quality I've had high quality leaf and I've had low quality leaf. And let me tell you, like people who usually tune in and watch this, they'll know if you mention Lipton, I go, you see. If I could go on a 20-minute rant talking about Lipton, and it's just like it's not good. I'm gonna do the Thomas taste before I go off on a tangent here. Here we go. Ooh, I love that. Now, what I call the Thomas taste is I slurp the tea, let it sit for a couple seconds on my tongue, swallow, and then breathe out through my nose to see if that pulls out any kind of flavors that I've been missing or enhances anything that I've had before. And the muscatel is stronger on the exhale. Excuse me. And I noticed one thing: this is not astringent at all. Like, there's a certain kind of astringency that hits me in the back of the throat whenever I drink certain black teas, like Ceylons. Ceylons, to me, they tend to be very, very astringent. This one is super smooth. It's so soft on the palate that is the taste profile changing as the tea cools? Yes, but not dramatically. Like, it's still maintaining that high end flavor that when I first tried it. It's maintaining the flavor very, very well. The excuse me. It's not like a lot of black teas tend to get astringent as it cools, and this one I have not had any difference at all. And I'm really loving that fact, because today I had some what was it? Assam Orthodox, and I was drinking it at work, and as it cooled down, I don't know how I was able to finish the second cup, because it was just so astringent. Every time I swallowed it, just went yeah, it was overly, like, I cannot drink cooled down Assam tea unless I put something in it like milk or honey or sugar. And I put honey in it, but as it cooled down, that honey was just not working anymore. But in that case, I highly recommend, like, either reheating the tea and hoping for the best. But, it was at work. I couldn't just get up and microwave my tea. To me, it tastes full, earthy, and with a sweet finish. Oh, absolutely. I completely agree 100%. Like I said, like, there's no kick. There's no astringency. There's no bitterness. And this is the kind of tea that I can get behind. It's very smooth from the beginning to the end. And look at this. I haven't finished yet. I'm about halfway through my cup. But I'm not detecting any degradation in the flavor. And I'm even looking. And what I find really interesting is that there's no sediment, or rather very, very little sediment. Let me check against the light. Yeah, I mean, there's very, very light sediment, but it's powder. Like, at the end. Oh, before I go, Teresa's question. Yes. I'll answer that. Ooh, I have 2 minutes. I'll answer that in just a moment. But like I'm saying, like, there's very little sediment at the bottom, so I'm expecting that my last sip isn't going to be any stronger than what I've already been drinking. Now, Teresa's question before we get run out of time. What would I pair this with? I mean, it's really comparable to a breakfast tea. So I would say, ham and eggs, bacon and eggs. I mean, pancakes. A nice full breakfast. This will go really well with it. Or oh, excuse me, pancakes and waffles. And going on to, like, heavier meals, something on the sweeter end. I mean, anything that you would drink with an English breakfast will go pretty well with this. I don't know what my hair is doing now. It's just going. Anyway. Yeah. So I would pair it with, maybe something bolder. Maybe, something with cinnamon in it. Like, I think that a good creamy dessert, like what is that? Cheese and fruits. Oh yeah, absolutely. That'll complement the muscatel really well. And you know what? Now that you mention it, a nice bitter cheese. Not one of the creamier, sweeter ones, but something bitter that can, like, counter the muscatel and like the smokiness and earthiness of this. They would go very well together. Oh, and that is my time. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap things up. Thank you, everyone, for joining me tonight. This has been an extremely wonderful blend. I will definitely. Oh, an aged tea, absolutely. I mean, not aged tea, aged cheese. Sorry. Thank you for joining us, and thank you, Carla, for joining us as well and answering some of these questions. Hopefully, I'll be able to pick up some more blends from you guys and review them later on down the line. But until next time, have a great night, a wonderful weekend, and I will see you next time. Bye!